You're not just imagining it if it suddenly seems like your IBS has gotten more difficult to manage in your 30s or 40s. All of a sudden, the symptoms have gotten worse, and it's not just stress, and it's not new food intolerances out of nowhere. It just seems to happen overnight. Hi, my name is Veronica. I'm a registered dietitian, and I also have IBS. This channel is for talking about practical nutrition tips to help you with your IBS, and it's not just the clinical stuff. So this topic actually came out of a discussion with my friend Amy, who is also a registered dietitian. She has her own blog and she sees clients for perimenopause and menopause. I'll leave a link to her blog in the description below. But basically, we were talking about this topic of hormones and IBS and just gut health in general in your 30s and 40s, and why it just seems like your gut symptoms just get worse out of nowhere. So that's what we're going to break down today in this video. So you're not just imagining these symptoms. I want to tell you a little story about myself. So several years ago, I woke up on my 40th birthday with the worst digestive issues I have had in my life. And like I said, it didn't just these weren't things that were building up slowly. It literally seemed like it happened overnight. I woke up on the morning of my 40th birthday with the worst constipation of my life. And it just, like I said, it was literally seemed like it came out of nowhere. And this may sound familiar to you if you're in your late 30s or 40s. And the reason is hormones. Your hormones can cause your gut symptoms to change. Even if you've already had IBS, it just can make your symptoms worse. So that's what we're gonna break down here so that you can understand why this is happening. We're going to talk about the hormone-gut connection. And I have some notes here. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. So first of all, let's talk about what perimenopause is. Perimenopause is the lead up to menopause. So this can start in your late 30s or your 40s, and it's basically the lead up to menopause, which is when your period and your menstruation does stop. So during perimenopause, which can actually last up to 10 years, so starting in your late 30s, when is actually, it happened for me, I noticed symptoms of perimenopause in my late 30s, and then all the way through my 40s. So it's been a very long road, but let's get back to the hormone-gut connection. So estrogen and progesterone stop their usual predictable cycle. Progesterone tends to decline first, and then estrogen doesn't drop in a straight line. It tends to go up and down before there is an eventual decline in estrogen. And what almost nobody talks about is that these hormone fluctuations affect your gut. And again, this is why the hormone-gut connection and knowing about this is so important. So you may have heard of the gut-brain axis. There's also something known as the estrogen-gut axis. And you may have heard about this, you may have not, but there's something called the estrobolome, which is a specific group of gut bacteria. The estrobolome helps to regulate how much estrogen circulates in your body, and that is the gut estrogen axis. And it works both ways. Hormones affect your gut, and your gut affects your hormones. And so estrogen gets deactivated in your liver, it gets sent to your gut, and your bacterial enzymes reactivate it, which gets reabsorbed. The hormone gets reabsorbed into your bloodstream. So when you have a balanced microbiome, you have steady levels of estrogen. When your microbiome is unbalanced, which is common in IBS, this can throw off your hormone levels. So too much estrogen gets recirculated in your bloodstream, which throws off your estrogen to progesterone ratio, and this causes more perimenopause symptoms and gut symptoms. And progesterone's role is mostly motility. So as the progesterone declines, this can slow your gut motility, which is basically causing more constipation, which is what happened to me on my 40th birthday. And then lower progesterone is also linked to increased gut sensitivity, and this can cause more abdominal pain, more cramping, more gas, more bloating, and this may be why it seems like your IBS just gets worse seemingly overnight. So those changes in hormones cause worse IBS or gut symptoms. And maybe you never even had IBS before perimenopause. This can cause gut symptoms in people that never had IBS. So it can, if you already had IBS, it can make your symptoms worse. Or if you've never had IBS, it can cause you to have some of these gut symptoms. There was a 2009 study where they found that GI symptoms increases around menses and early menopause. And this is happening at times of declining ovarian hormones. And as I mentioned, estrogen and progesterone withdrawal may directly or indirectly contribute to these gut symptoms. So in basic plain terms, when your hormones drop or get erratic, this affects your symptoms. Okay, so that's why all these fluctuations in hormones can really affect how you're feeling. So more bloating, more abdominal pain, more visceral hypersensitivity, constipation, or you could have diarrhea. It just depends. Everyone's a little different. But these are some of the things that can happen. So there are 4 patterns to watch for. 1, you have more frequent or more severe flare-ups of IBS. So that is one pattern that can happen that you may see. Number 2, you could have shifting symptoms. Basically what this means is that maybe before you had more IBS with diarrhea, this could shift more into IBS with constipation, or vice versa. As I said, everyone is a little different and your symptoms may shift differently. Number 3, you could have increased gut sensitivity. So as I mentioned, these changes in hormones cause more visceral hypersensitivity. So that means more abdominal pain or cramping and just more of that bloating, like tight feeling in your belly. So that's one possible pattern that you may see. And the last pattern you may see is this overlaps with perimenopause symptoms. This can make it difficult to figure out what is actually what. Is it IBS? Is it perimenopause? Is it both? So these symptoms overlap with IBS and perimenopause. So understanding what's happening definitely helps. Being aware that this is a thing that happens helps so that you know what to do. So that's what we're going to talk about next. What do you do? What actually helps? So number 1, reevaluate your trigger foods. If you've already done the low FODMAP diet in the past, it can actually help to reevaluate your symptoms with doing the low FODMAP elimination. Do that for a short time period of 2 to 6 weeks. And then you can see and reintroduce foods one at a time to see what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate. That way then you can personalize your diet and what foods you eat to what you tolerate. And one thing I do recommend is not to avoid foods that you do tolerate. I think people can get into a trap of thinking, well, I'll just only eat low FODMAP foods, but you can actually eat other foods that are high FODMAP. Some people will tolerate a lot of different high FODMAP foods. I will admit I did do that. I was avoiding things like apples. Apples are high in FODMAPs and I tolerate apples. So I decided, you know what, I want to start eating apples again. So that's just one example, but don't avoid the foods that you do tolerate. It's just going to make your diet too restrictive. All right, so the next thing, prioritize stress management. So stress affects your gut. It is one of those things that does affect your gut. So practicing good stress management, things like going for a walk in nature. That's one of my favorite things to do. Also, doing meditations, doing deep breathing work. These are things that help to relax your nervous system, and in turn, that relaxes your gut and improves your symptoms. So the next thing that can actually help is supporting your gut microbiome. This basically means eat a variety of plant foods. Of course, focus on the ones that you tolerate, but eating a variety of plant foods helps you with your gut. So don't cut out those fruits and vegetables that you do tolerate. Make sure you eat those foods. Also, some other things that can help is eating fermented foods. Just be careful, some of these are high in FODMAPs, but focus on the ones you tolerate. So it could be lactose-free yogurt, it could be sauerkraut if you do tolerate that. Also, kombucha is another great fermented food, and again, if you tolerate it. So these are things that you can include that help you with your gut. Also, some other foods, broccoli crowns are great for your gut. If you need to test these foods, make sure you tolerate them. Common cabbage, brown flax seeds, and lactose-free yogurt, as I mentioned, and blueberries. These are all really great foods for your gut and help you with your microbiome diversity. And another tip for you is don't skip sleep. And that's because poor sleep affects your gut. So try to get the best sleep you can. And it can be difficult during perimenopause to get good sleep because some of the perimenopausal symptoms are, things like hot flashes that can affect your sleep, night sweats affects your sleep, and just that overall poor sleep that is common during perimenopause. So I know from firsthand experience that it can be difficult to get good sleep, but practice good sleep hygiene, and this is gonna, of course, make you feel a lot better if you're sleeping well, but it helps with your gut symptoms. All right, and next tip is to track your symptoms. Tracking your symptoms, so track what foods trigger your symptoms, track the different things like stress in your life, and you may see a pattern. Also track your sleep too. You may see a pattern where, if you had a poor night's sleep and then the next day your gut feels really off, or you ate a certain food and then you notice you have a lot of bloating afterwards. So tracking what you eat and tracking your symptoms can really help you narrow down what is affecting your gut symptoms. And then also, if you are having an active flare right now, I have an IBS rescue guide. This is going to help you to determine what is bothering you and also ways to fix it. So I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below. Make sure you check it out. So if you have IBS and you also have perimenopause too, you're not alone, and I'm right there with you. So you're not alone. There are ways to deal with your symptoms, and I created this whole video and the IBS rescue guide to help you with this. And so I also have a free low FODMAP shopping list. I'm going to leave a link in the description for that as well. This is really helpful. You can bring it to the grocery store, either on your phone, or you could print it out, and so you know exactly what foods to eat and you buy the right foods, because bringing the right foods home from the store is the first step. So definitely check that out as well. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe for more IBS nutrition tips. All right, I'll see you in the next one.